The global economy's going down. Much of the world has had enough of the United States' geopolitical and economic hegemony. The death of the dollar is coming. All of the European countries, they're building up their military. They all say that they're doing this to build up their economy. Total bullshit. China is going to lead the world in AI, and you're going to see these companies in America go bust. There's going to be a dot-com bust 2.0. That's going to crash the markets. When Wall Street goes down, then the reality of how bad it is on Main Street becomes a reality. No more middle class. No more land of opportunity. The big zone everything. All we are plantation workers. It's going to be the greatest depression, like we've never seen before.
World War III is already happening.
This is a house of cards, and it is in the process of collapsing right now.
You're going to see an economic crash, the likes of which we've never seen.
Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here, back once again with friend of the channel, Gerald Celente. Really needs no introduction, but what the hell. Founder and director of the Trends Research Institute and publisher of the Trends Journal, which is a compendium of data-driven forecasting and analysis. For over 40 years, he's been one of the world's most outspoken trends forecasters, calling everything from market crashes to geopolitical shocks. Gerald, thanks for coming back once again.
Oh, thanks for having me on, and thanks for all that you do. I mean, there's so few of us out there that are fighting for freedom, peace, and justice, and don't swallow the crap coming out from prostitutes, media whores that get paid to put out by the corporate pimps and government whoremasters that people call the mainstream media.
There's a whole new generation of prostitutes coming up, too. I'm sure that you're aware of that. Now, Gerald, I want to ask you, I haven't had a chance to look at the most recent Trends Journal. What is the big trending headline that's top of mind for you right now?
When all else fails, they take you to war. And it's failing all over the world. Oh, Germany, the third largest economy in the world, according to the data when you Google it up. And the largest economy in Europe. Oh, they were only in a recession for 2 years. But now we got that Merz guy over there. We're going to increase our military spending by $1 trillion. Oh, we're going to build up our infrastructure so they could hold the tanks. One article after another in your Trends Journal about all of the European countries building up their military. And again, Germany's been in a recession for 2 years. Oh, but this year it's going to grow by 0.2%. All right? They're all building up their military as their economies are going down. And the people, again, they swallow the crap. That's my greatest concern. The global economy's going down. Oh, you got that guy up there in Canada. All right? Well, before you had Trudeau, and now you got this other, that guy was a Goldman Sachs guy or somebody that you're running the show now. We're building up our military because we have to fight those Russians. How about that little Catzon over there in France, Macron, with a pecker the size of his pen, if he has one at all? We have to build up our military. We have to become strong. We may even send troops over there to Ukraine. Hey, Catzon, you want to go there and fight? Go fight, or shut your mouth. Every one of you politicians that want to go fight for, build up your military, go over there and put on your costumes and fight, and shut your mouth. That's what's going on. The global economy's going down. Oh, before we went on the air, they just came out with a report in the United States. Job cuts in November, 39 or 35,000, I forgot the exact number, less jobs. Went down. Here, facts. The top 10% in the United States are responsible for almost 50% of all retail sales in the country. No more middle class. No more land of opportunity. The big zone everything. All we are plantation workers.
Is that 10-50 ratio different from what it was historically?
Oh, yeah. There was a middle class in America. When I was a young guy, I'm the same age as Trump. And if I look like him, I blow my brains out. Oh, this clown boy, Tapper this, you little jerk off over there in CNN, the Cartoon News Network. You know what he said? You know, they see the video of Trump falling asleep at the cabinet meeting? He said 79-year-olds do that. Screw you, you little jerk. I'm 79 years old. I don't fall asleep like that. So what was the question you asked? I got lost on it. We're talking about
the 1050 ratio. You said it was.
Oh, yeah. No. When I was a young guy, there were hardware stores, stationery stores, drugstores, shoe stores, clothing stores, fish stores, butcher shops. There was a middle class. Gone. The big zone, everything. Because the slime balls, like this is a T-shirt I did when he ran for office back in 1992. Beware of Slick Willie. They all did away with one after another. They did Robinson Patman Act, Sherman Antitrust Act, Clayton Antitrust Act. He did away with the Glass-Steagall Act. They allowed the bigs to get bigger. You want the facts? Here we go. Home sales. First-time home sales used to be for 28-year-olds with the average of first-time home sales. Now you know what the average age is? Not 28 years old anymore. 40 years old. Going broke. You had an election here in New York City. Again, I'm a guy grew up in the Bronx, right? I know New York City. This little guy, again, and trend forecasters, it's not what you like, what you want, what you wish for, it's what is. This guy, Mondani, became the mayor of New York City, 34 years old. 34 years old. Nobody ever heard of the cat before. This is the largest city in America. How come he won? Because the people are going broke. Gen Z was a big turnout and millennials. Gen Z, again, as trend forecasters, you look at the globe. Oh, protests going on in Nepal, Kenya, Morocco, Madagascar, Tanzania. Gen Z's taken to the streets. They have no future. They got no jobs. They got no life. Oh, now AI's taking a lot of those away too. So when you look at it, was it different before? Of course it was. Well, again, four of my uncles, they had fish stores and aunts and uncles. One uncle had a butcher shop. They all had little nice houses. It was a whole different world.
Is there any news on the current consumer markets as it pertains to like Christmas shopping? Because it appears as though people are still buying stuff, or are sales down this year? And is this really, once we get over this holiday season, is something big going to be revealed in that the debt bubble is going to burst? How does this end, Gerald? Like, is there going to be a point of total capitulation where people just get out onto the streets and start protesting and rioting? Like, how is this going to culminate?
You said it's the holiday season. People go deeper in debt. And again, in our trend forecast with we call the dot-com bust, we called it in the autumn of 1999. We said it would happen after the holiday season by the second quarter of 2000. And it did. People are in a holiday state of mind right now. So they're going deeper in debt. The numbers aren't that good. They're going up a bit. But again, you have to see who's pushing them up. The billionaire, just by the facts. The top 10 billionaires in America got nearly $700 billion richer this year, all right? As the middle class keeps shrinking. Again, I call us plantation workers of Slavelandia. So no, this is artificial. Reality is going to hit. And the reality, again, you have to look at a lot of different data. Look at the office occupancy rate. Go to Castle Systems with a K. It's about 54.8%. What was it before the COVID war in 2019? Between 85 and 90 something percent occupancy. And now it's down to 54%. You're going to see buildings going bust one after another as companies are not renewing their leases. And the leases that they have, like 5-10 year leases, and now that time is coming up. You're going to see banks go bust. Go back to 2023, not ancient history. 3 banks went down. Signature, First Republic, and Silicon Valley or Silicon Conman, whatever, Valley Bank. Whoop. Markets went way down. Gold prices went way up. 3 banks, you're going to see 30, 40, 50, 60 banks go bust. Nobody's talking about this. And then where the big bust is going to happen is what we forecast, a dot-com bust 2.0. It was the cover of our Trends Journal magazine on February 5th. No one was talking about it. Now they're talking about it. Again, trends are born, they grow, they mature, reach old age, and die. You don't invest all your money in AI that was just born 3 years ago, 2022. They overinvested in the infant companies. Again, going back to Slick Willie Clinton. He's the guy that brought China into the World Trade Organization. What does this have to do with AI going bust? Everything. Before they came into the World Trade Organization in 2000, some 10% of Chinese 18-year-olds went to college. Today, almost 70%. That's right. You got 1.4 billion people against about 340 million in the United States. Oh, and the kids are going to college in China. They're not taking courses in transgender studies, all right? They're very, very high-tech addicted. China is going to lead the world in AI, and you're going to see these companies in America go bust. They overinvested in them. There's going to be a dot-com bust 2.0. That's going to crash the markets. There's no relationship between, again, not my data, the facts. Some 50% of America's GDP has been pushed up because of the AI boom. All right? So when that goes bust, then there's no relationship between Wall Street and Main Street. When Wall Street goes down, then the reality of how bad it is on Main Street becomes a reality. Right now, it's covered up.
So there's going to be a market crash and a banking crash that coincide. So what does the Fed and the government do to intervene at that point, do you think?
Again, some people call me a futurist. I say, I'm not a futurist. Nobody can predict the future. Let's go back to 2012. You asked me what the government will do and the Fed. I thought the markets would crash again in 2012. I was 100% wrong. They did not teach me about zero interest rate policy or a thing called quantitative easing in Economics 101 or graduate school. They're going to make up any crap that they want to artificially reinflate the markets. And they're going to keep lowering interest rates. Why are the markets going up? Oh, because interest rates are going down. What does it have to do with reality? Oh, by the way, the lower interest rates fall, the deeper the dollar falls. Oh, the deeper the dollar falls, the higher gold prices go up. Because other currencies get stronger and gold is dollar-based, cheaper to buy the stuff all over the world when the dollar goes down, and the dollar's going down. And the BRICS have had enough, but the BRICS now control some 40% of the world's gross domestic product. Much of the world has had enough of the United States geopolitical and economic hegemony. The death of the dollar is coming. And that's the other thing. They're going to do everything they can, create something like, here, Orwell could not have come up with a better name than stable coins, all right?
So you think that they're going to go the route of like the CBDC or Tether or something along those lines in order to...
Absolutely. Absolutely. The world's going to go CBDC. Again, it's the digital age. And by the way, I don't carry a cell phone. I have one I hardly know how to use. I got an old flip phone that maybe I made 10 calls on in a year. All right? Everybody is high-tech addicted. I watch people walk down the street. I drive in New York City, people walking across the street like this, all right? You go to bars. Once upon a time, you used to BS at a bar. Not anymore. Everybody's high-tech addicted. Again, the articles we got to write in the Trends Journal about how the young people are so screwed up by doing this. It's going to be very easy to go CBDC. It's a digital world. Everything's going AI. Hey, we got a new coin. It's worth a lot more than $1. All right. We just got rid of our debt level. They'll make up any crap they want.
And so when you say when all else fails, they take you to war, how does war relate to this scenario that you're talking about here? Where does that come into play, and where exactly are these wars going to emerge? It's kind of a stupid question because I somewhat know the answer, but I want to get your take on Venezuela, Ukraine, Middle East.
Again, Venezuela. You read Trump's comments when he was running for office. I'm going to be a man of peace, so I'm going to bring peace on earth. No wars. It's all BS about a drug dealership, a drug war going on in Venezuela. And you don't bomb people in boats, little power boats that are 1,500 miles away from the United States. They have to probably refuel about 10 times to get here. You don't kill people like that. That's illegal. It's immoral. It's, again, if you change the name to, get rid of the name politicians and call them gangsters. It's been going on forever. So going back to it, let's go to the facts. Talking about Venezuela. Google it up. We wrote about in the Trends Journal what was happening. When Trump was president back in 2019, 2020, he wanted to overthrow the Venezuelan government. He was putting in this little clown boy of nothing, Juan Guaido. You can see him at the State of the Union address, bringing Guaido in here and all the little clown boys and girls of Congress standing up and applauding, and Trump saying, this is the real president of Venezuela. And it's going to happen. We're going to get rid of the communist, what do you call him? A socialist communist Maduro. Oh, it had nothing to do about drugs. You think the United States would have invaded Iraq, Syria, and Libya if their major export was broccoli? It's about getting the oil out of Venezuela. They're going to ramp up the war. And then Ukraine, no peace deal. Again, here, this is your Trends Journal back in 2014. See how happy that guy is? It's about the United States overthrow the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych in Ukraine that people have no idea about. No idea about the deal made between Gorbachev and Bush Sr. Quote, NATO will not move 1 inch further when the Soviet Union broke up. Oh, there were 16 NATO countries. Now there are 32. They're going to ramp up this war. And Israel bombs away up. They're going to do everything they can. Oh, they're bombing Syria, bombing Lebanon. And will they bomb Iran? If they go to war against Iran, it's going to be the beginning of the end of life on earth. There's a thing that Israel has called the Samson option. If they lose, they go nuclear. And according to the data, they have between 200 to 400 nuclear warheads. Iran is a country of 91 million people. Persians, very advanced militarily, scientifically, and technologically. Israel's a country of what? 7 million? You don't got to be good at math to figure this out. They go to war, and Netanyahu will do everything he can to stay in power. They go to war. When all else fails, they take it to war. Oh, let's go back to Israel. There were 39 weeks of protests going on in Israel before Hamas attacked on October 7th, 2023. 39 weeks of protests against Netanyahu, who wanted to pass the Judicial Reform Act, meaning that you're going to get rid of the court system and the politicians will be in charge, so I don't have to be brought up on the charges that they want me to bring up on. 39 weeks of protest in Israel, not my language, the language of Isaac Herzog, the president of Israel. There's a civil war going on. Hamas attacks. Everybody forgot about the 39 weeks of protests and the civil war in Israel. When all else fails, they take it to war. Oh, we only report the facts in the Trends Journal. 3 days after Hamas attacked, it was reported that the United States and Egypt had warned Israel that Hamas was going to attack. Not my language. Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper. One after another, they all reported that they knew this was going to happen. They let it happen. When all else fails, they take it to war.
So these drug boats that they're claiming. What do you think these are then, if they're not
What?
quote unquote narco terrorists?
What do he get? What the hell they owe? What the hell do I care? And again, look what Trump just did. He just pardoned the clown guy from Honduras. All right? This is your article in the Trends Journal this week. Trump pardons former president of Honduras who partnered with top drug traffickers while bombing alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. All right? And I'm tired of hearing this crap about pardoning all these jerks. Who made up this crap? I'm the president. I can pardon anybody I want. He just pardoned a guy that's been convicted of one of the biggest drug traffickers. All right, but we're going to get those guys in Venezuela. So keep swallowing my crap. I'm the president of your country. All right?
It's quite demoralizing to see that people are eating it up too. Like there's a surprisingly little amount of pushback, even in the supposed left-wing media. Are you surprised by the lack of pushback?
No. Again, they're prostitutes. They're media whores that get paid to put out by the corporate pimps and government whoremasters. They're ballless little boys and I can't say the other word because then I'd be sexist, you know? They're cowards. Listen, I used to be on Oprah, The Today Show, Good Morning America, Fox, everybody all over. I got blacklisted when I said the United States would lose the Afghan war. I said if Alexander the Great couldn't pull it off at the height of the British Empire, the British couldn't pull it off into the Valley of Death, Road to 600. If the Russians couldn't pull it off, and they're the ones that beat the Germans first in World War II, what makes you think we're going to win the war when we haven't won a war since World War II? Lost Vietnam, you know. Why? You anti-American? All right, they're little clown boys and girls. They don't look at the facts. They're little suck-ups. And look how stupid the people are. I like Fox. I like Trump. I watch Fox. I hate Trump. I watch MSNBC. How about being an open-minded person and not liking or loving anybody and just look at the facts? It's gone. You got the big here. That slimeball Bill Clinton, 1996 Federal Communications Act. He deregulated the Communications Act. There were thousands of independent radio stations, newspapers, magazines, TV stations, and now 6 companies control 92% of the American media. You got it?
So we currently have a situation where the economy is getting worse, and it appears as though it's culminating into some sort of a flashpoint. But you're saying that they're going to use war as a distraction when things start to fall apart. So they need some kind of enemy of the state, a fabrication or real or imagined. Do you have like a timeline for when you think this is going to unfold?
No, you can never tell when it's going to happen. That's why I said you don't know when. It could happen anytime, anywhere, any way you want it. Yeah, this is an article in thehumanist.com. America's 40-year wealth transfer. A humanist reflection of debt, power, and the vanishing middle class when you asked about the middle class. All right? This is December 1st. The middle class is gone. The Gen Z revolution is going to happen, and they're going to get the people's minds off it by increasing war. Again, when there's no peace deal in Gaza, where they slaughter about 350 Palestinians since then, keep bombing the place into ruin. Remember the BS that there was going to be a peace deal with Ukraine? And this is Trump, by the way. And I said the BS. We want to have peace on earth all over. That was when he was running for office in September of last year, 2024. All right? If I were president, I would settle the Ukraine war in 24 hours. It got some. It's 24 hours. You've been president now for how many months? You haven't settled it. He goes on. I want immediate peace. It's one after another. I'm moving quickly to end wars, settle conflicts, and restore the planet to peace. I want peace. This is all the BS he said. How many times did you bomb Somalia? Oh, it's just a little over 100. Ask people to find Somalia on a map. They couldn't find it. What the hell are we doing over there? Look what he's done with the Gaza, with the genocide going on over there, along with Genocide Joe before him. And again, some of the things that we're looking about, look at gold prices. Why do you think gold and silver prices are spiking the way they are? Because of geopolitical and socioeconomic uncertainty. I've been at this, again, for 45 years. I got, one of my books, Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. It is over here. But I had forecast gold prices when the Iranian conflict broke out. That's when I started buying gold at $163 an ounce. I've been at this a lot of years. There's no comparison to what's going on now and then when gold was spiking. Back then, United States was number one. China's GDP back in 1978 was less than $150 billion. All right? Now at 20 trillion. It's a different world. And gold prices have spiked this year, what? How much percent?
It's like 60%, I think.
Yeah. And silver, how much?
Almost 100%. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Gerald, about the civil unrest angle, because I'm starting to get the vibe that they're really trying to get people fighting with one another, whether it's along racial lines, socioeconomic lines, identity politics. You got Trump deploying the National Guard. You got this ICE stuff going on, for better or for worse. But it starts to seem like they're putting the military or paramilitary in the streets. You got a lot of high-ranking public officials moving on to military bases with their families. What are they preparing for? Because it seems like every other day Trump is putting out some sort of post or something which is stoking the flames of this civil divide. And it's almost like they want people to fight with one another to take attention away from all this stuff when it goes down.
I don't know if it's a divided nation. There's no question about it. And there's an article in this week's Trends Journal. Trump's approval drops to lowest level in second term. He's going way down. Again, when all else fails, they take you to war. I mentioned about the dot-com bust. Little Georgie Bush's ratings were going into the toilet. America was in a recession. 9/11 happens, boop.
Well, what do you make, though, of like these figures like Nick Fuentes, who are at one point would never get any sort of airplay, very politically polarizing, now suddenly being brought on all these types of podcasts with very fringe perspectives? Like, it seems as though it's a setup for people to start really going at each other. At least that's how I see it.
No question about it. And again, you got to look at that election in New York City. It's historic. I mean, it's the biggest city in America. And you got a little nobody that just won on one side. And again, you look at the data. Gen Z was the biggest turnout in the primaries. They have no future. That's on one side, then the Fuentes is on the other side. It's a split nation. When I was a kid growing up, there was never a word about politics. My aunts and uncles and parents, not a word. And now it's all they talk about, people. It's a divided nation. And we call it the divided states of America. It's not united. And it's going on around the world. That's the important thing to understand. I mean, look what happened up in Canada when the COVID war. Look how they punished the people that were against it. Look what they did. Look how they divided the country. And a little boy of nothing, a little daddy's boy, a little spoiled piece of crap, Trudeau, telling people what to do. Divided, it was right in front of your eyes. Look how they punished the people that didn't want to get the COVID jab or swallow the crap coming out of these clown boys and girls that were the health ministers. what was that one of that jerk off up there? That woman who said, "Don't have sex. Don't have sex." Yeah, who screw you? Of course not have sex. What are you talking about?
It's very true. So you see that this civil unrest is mounting, and I guess the question is, how long do you think people have to prepare for what's coming down the road?
One of my things they call GCs, Gerald Salente's GCs, 3Gs, guns, gold, and a getaway plan. And it's going to be serious. I'm up here in Kingston, New York, right? This is the first capital of New York State. There are more pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings here than anywhere in America. When COVID happened, people were flooding up from New York City to get out, buying houses sight unseen. All over the country, people leaving, getting out, buying things, moving to the country. That was just the COVID war. When this thing escalates, you're going to see more and more people moving out of big cities and getting away. Guns, gold, and a getaway plan. This thing's going down big and hard and fast. I got to hear this guy Fuentes. What the hell do I care what this guy's talking about? What do I got to care what these clowns are talking about? I only write a magazine with facts, no opinions. This is our analysis. This is our trend forecast. Nobody does that. They only give you one side. One side. So what we're telling people to do is to get in your best shape now as you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You're in the fight for your life. And do everything you can to do something in a positive way. United we stand, divided we die.
Do you think the crash is going to be similar to is it going to be more like a 1929, or is it going to be like a .com or a 2008? What do you foresee happening? Because it seems like it could possibly be worse than all those, based on the numbers that we're seeing with respect to the cost of living and automation, all these things kind of dovetailing. Is this going to be like a Great Depression 2.0? What does this look like? Or is it going to be something completely different?
It's going to be the greatest depression, like we've never seen before. And again, you're talking about AI, before I talk about Generation Z, you look at the facts. Young people can't find jobs. AI's taken over more and more and more jobs. And again, the trend was just born. Trends are born, they grow, they mature, reach old age, and die. AI is an infant. It's only 3 years old. It's going to be taking out more and more and more jobs. It's going to be the greatest depression. Look at the data. According to some of the data, and this isn't my quote, you have 3 companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, that own a vast majority of the S&P 500. When I was a young man, there were no things called venture capitalists, hedge funds, or private equity groups that own all this stuff. Look at your merger and acquisition activity. Again, we write about it in your Trends Journal week after week. It's escalating at levels now because of the Trump administration, and they're cutting back on the regulations. We have a column in the Trends Journal. It's called Bigs Getting Bigger. It's just going on and on and on of how big they're becoming because they're doing away with the regulations. So the bigs keep getting bigger as the people keep getting poorer, and it's only going to continue to escalate. And that's why you're going to see divided states and more people fighting back against it.
You said that you suspect people are going to be purchasing more rural real estate. Would you say that's a safe bet for financial investment, getting land in the countryside?
I would say, it depends on what you want to do and how you want to live. It's again, I'm very positive on real estate, by the way. This isn't the time to buy, but there will be when things go down. Life goes on. Unless we have a nuclear war, then as they asked Albert Einstein, the cat that knew a thing or two about the atomic bomb, They asked him, what kind of weapons will be used to fight the Third World War? He said, I don't know, but they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the fourth. So more and more people are going to be moving out of the cities as cities keep going down. And I ended up buying 3 buildings up here in Kingston in 2012 when interest rates were down in the 2% plus range. And I bought them at the bottom. I own a 1763, a 1774, and a 1750 building on the most historic Four Corners in America. One was vacant for 5 years. The other one I bought in foreclosure. I paid nothing for them. And now, poof. So when things are going down, to me, again, I don't give financial advice, definitely real estate. Definitely real estate when things go down. And the other one is, to me, gold and silver. You know, I've been bullish on them for decades. And I mean, what silver prices are now, whether almost $60 an ounce, 58 and change when we got on the air. I mean, I would have thought it had gone up that much this year. But gold, again, look at the top trends for 2024. Golden year for gold. It only went up almost 30%. And now it's flying high again. And again, the lower interest rates go, the deeper the dollar falls. The deeper the dollar falls, the higher gold prices goes up because gold is dollar based. And interest rates are going to go down. They're going to do everything they can to prop up the economy. And again, what everybody forgot, again, why I say I'm not a futurist, I would have thought things would have crashed when they locked down the countries in 2020. I didn't know that they'd have spent trillions of dollars in cheap money backed by nothing and printed on nothing being pushed out into the economies and bringing interest rates down to zero. That's what caused the inflation. And now those days are over. There's going to be dragflation, by the way. Economy's going down and inflation going up, not stagflation.
And so eventually, you know, either they have to let the system crash or they hyperinflate. These are really the only two options at this point. They can lower interest rates, start quantitative easing, and then that releases a bunch of liquidity into the markets, which jacks the price of everything.
You got it. By the way, here's the data. They cut 32,000 workers. They just cut 32,000 workers. And this is the holiday season.
And what kind of jobs are those?
That's very important, by the way. They're all of them but the jobs that are being created, and this is extremely important that no one talks about, in America are in the healthcare social service sector and hospitality service sectors. Low-paying jobs.
In healthcare?
Low-paying jobs.
Nursing or?
Daycare centers, nursing homes.
Nursing homes, okay. And so the jobs that are being lost, what kind of jobs are those? They're
losing, again.
Like factory?
Yeah. Again, United States manufacturing only accounts for about 11% of our gross domestic product. Nearly 70% is on retail sales, consumer spending money. So the factories, again, slimeball Bill Clinton, NAFTA, send the jobs to Mexico, get cheap labor. Send the jobs to China, get cheap labor. Again, we gave China, again, look at China's GDP from 1970 to 2001. It's like this. They get into the World Trade Organization, boop, shoots up. The Western countries gave China to get manufacturing there so they can have cheap labor. They gave China all the heavy industry and high-tech knowledge they never had. And now China's the world leader in EVs. Go back up to about 2015, from 2000 to 2015. Oh, the sales of Porsche and Volkswagen and BMW and Ford and they were all General Motors. They were skyrocketing. Oh, all the luxury. Remember that? Everything changed. China doesn't need you anymore. Get you out of here. We're making our own. Matter of fact, you know what China's doing now? They're flooding the world with non-EVs that they want to get rid of. They lead the world in EVs. So they're selling more and more stuff cheaply. And so the West destroyed our economies when they gave China all the high-tech and heavy industry technology they never had. Look at Germany. Germany was like one of the leaders in manufacturing. Again, yeah, this is in this week's Trends Journal. We're talking about how bad it is, right? Mexico's factories produce less work for the third month in a row. China's factory output declines for the 10th consecutive month, one after another. Eurozone's factories dump workers as output declines. These are just facts.
I want to ask you a bit questions about the European situation. Witkoff and Jared Kushner went to meet with Vladimir Putin yesterday. You've said earlier that you think that the Europeans, because of their failing economies, need a scapegoat. They need something for the people to focus on, an enemy at the gates to take attention away from how dismal the financial situation is there. What do you know about Witkoff, Kushner? What is this whole meeting about in your mind? Because it seems like if you were wanting to end a war, you'd be sending a high-ranking military delegation to discuss, where the lines are going to be drawn, and not these billionaire business tycoons. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, that's what it is. What could they get out of Ukraine? How much money could they make? I mean, this Jared Kushner, I got to listen to this clown boy, his son-in-law. Oh, the Jared Kushner that we quoted in the Trends Journal back in 2024. That land in Gaza is, quote, very valuable waterfront property. And the Palestinians should be moved into the Negev desert. Oh, the little Jared Kushner who got $2 billion from Saudi Arabia to build up his company. You're just a piece of crap. You don't get anything. Hey, I'm the president's son-in-law. Witkoff, jerk-off, what are you talking about? And again, we made it 1,000% clear in your Trends Journal when 2 days before the Ukraine war began that there should be a peace deal, because there's no way on earth that Ukraine is going to be able to defeat Russia. And again, people have no idea. Again, it's in your Trends Journal. I showed you the cop, this edition, 2014, how the United States overthrew the democratically elected government of Yanukovych. The quote from Victoria Nuland, who was the Undersecretary of State back then, caught on the phone with Jeffrey Pyatt, who was the United States ambassador to Ukraine. Fuck the EU, we're putting Yatsen, a little boy Yatsenyuk, after they were going to overthrow Yanukovych. Nobody talks about this. And most importantly, how the people that took over Ukraine, besides Zelensky, the little boy that used to play the piano with his penis, or you could Google that up, right, when he was a comedian, that guy, they killed over 15,000 Russian people in the Donbass region of Ukraine. Azovs, Nazis. Yeah, that was the group that took over the country in Ukraine. So people have no idea how they were slaughtering the people in eastern Ukraine that didn't want to join the lie of the overthrow of the Yanukovych government. No talk about that. Oh, and then they talk about Russia stealing the Crimea. No, they had a vote in Crimea. And Crimea was part of Russia since, 350 years ago? And according to the vote by the international organization that monitors these things, it was totally legal. Over 96% of the people in Crimea said, we don't want anything to do with Ukraine, we're moving into Russia. But they don't talk about that. All they say is Russia stole Ukraine. And that goes back to the mainstream media. They're prostitutes.
In your opinion, Gerald, why can't the United States extricate itself from this conflict?
I launched a movement over a decade ago called Occupy Peace. Just had a rally over here in September. I had Judge Napolitano, Scott Ritter, Joe Lauria, Dennis Kucinich, Roger Waters did a live broadcast. And I read George Washington's farewell address. First president of the United States, a real man that fought, not like these little boys that couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. Oh, Trump only got 5 draft deferments like Biden. Oh, Bill Clinton, yeah. One after another. They don't fight. They'll have war. Washington says to the American people, don't become involved in these foreign entanglements. Don't love a nation. Don't hate a nation. Because if you do, you become a slave to them. Basically, this crap has been going on for thousands of years, and we should not become involved in it because we'll be doing nothing to fix it. End of story. It's all about the military-industrial complex. Dwight D. Eisenhower, five-star president, supreme commander of the Allied forces in World War II, warns the American people that the military-industrial complex is robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists, sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children. Trump, who lied his way into office as a peace president, what happened? Oh, they just jacked up the defense budget to almost $1 trillion. Okay? That's why.
So you think the primary driver is selling weapons, basically?
Money. Yep. Again, the stupidity spewing out of the mouths. Again, we only write the facts in the Trends Journal. Is from the UK to the clown boy up there, Canary up there, Carney Canary up in Canada. I read you the articles about them building up the military. They all say that they're doing this to build up their economy. Every one of them. Total bullshit. Economies are built up when the products that are produced are consumed by the people. The products that are being produced are not being consumed by the people. They only enrich the military-industrial complex. Got it?
So they're taking this military Keynesian approach, bringing us to the brink of nuclear war. And now it appears that the war is spreading beyond the borders of Ukraine. I'm not sure if you've heard about the attacks on the Russian oil tankers in the high seas.
Yep.
What do you make of that, and what sort of impact do you think that's going to have on global markets and oil?
Old news. What we said on and on and on, that Ukraine's going to do everything in NATO to escalate this war. There's going to be a false flag attack. They're going to keep bombing nuclear power, oil depots, oil pipelines, etc. Oh, remember Nord Stream? Everybody forgot about that one, that they bombed to ruins. And there's going to be a false flag attack, like a 9/11 kind of thing. They'll bomb a nuclear power plant or something will happen where we say, we have to go fight the Russians. There's going to be a false flag attack that escalates this war. We've been saying it for years.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to happen possibly in Europe somewhere even.
Yep.
Because it seems like they need something there to galvanize people towards the end of fighting the Russians. And right now, I don't think that the public sentiment is such that it wants to engage the Russians militarily. But maybe if there was some big event that really made it personal for a lot of broader Europe, that would give them a blank check to start rolling the tanks out.
You got it. Here. Here's the article. Ukraine targets Russian Shadow Fleet tankers. Okay? And you're right. They're going to say drone strike hit our airport or something. Don't make up anything. And again, Trump frees Honduras ex-president and issues election threat. The guy who he freed, the guy that the biggest drug dealer that they convicted, and he freed him. Again, it's a crime syndicate that people call governments. They're crime syndicates. If they weren't called politicians, they'd be called gangsters. That's all they are. They're gangsters.
So seeing this pattern play out time and time again, I mean, how do you not get demoralized? Because it seems like it's inevitable that this system is going to crash because nothing's going to change. The people are still going to be misled as they always have. And really, we're left to our own devices to just navigate the world and without being dependent on the government or somebody to come and change things. How do you cope, having seen this for so many years over and over again? I mean, what is it that keeps you motivated that there's going to be some, transcendent positive change in the world?
What keeps me motivated? This is the first book I worked on, Natural Healing, back in 1980s when people weren't even talking about this stuff. I keep telling people, get in the best shape you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I got to read this stuff. I read about 6-7 hours a day. You see the Trends Journal, it's over 200 pages a week. I keep my spirit up. I had a great French girlfriend, Marie-Pierre, and she was a great artist. And she used to say to me, art is the way of finding the true meaning of the human spirit. So I surround myself with art and beauty. And I try to live at the highest spirit that I can and do the best that I can. in the honor of my ancestors. I'm only me because of them. And I'm blessed to come from a great family of real men and women. So I tell people you do the best you can. And if there's a great quote, it does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. That was Samuel Adams, one of the founding fathers. That irate, tireless minority has to unite. Again, you're telling what people see and what they believe. When we talk about the prostitutes. The American people don't believe anything until they see it on television. That was Richard Nixon, another slimeball president. And this is the quote from Eisenhower. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies in the final sense a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and not clothed. The world in arms is not spending money alone. It's spending the sweat of its labors, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. This is not a way of life at all in any true sense. Under the clouds of war, it is humanity hanging on a cross of iron. So that's Eisenhower, a real cat that fought. Not like these little gutless slime balls that are running a country near you. All right? So one of you little clown boys and girls call Eisenhower a piece of slime and he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's right in front of our eyes. Under the clouds of war, it's humanity hanging on a cross of iron. You got it?
Well, I'd like to believe that, and I don't exactly agree with the person who made the quote, but the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. In the end of all this, when the smoke clears, hopefully humanity will be for the better and at least marginally, if only slightly, be slightly better than what we were before.
It'll be, if there's nuclear war, it's the end of life on Earth. Again, Einstein, a cat that knew about the atomic bomb, what weapons will be used to fight the Third World War? He said, I don't know, but they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the fourth. Hey, a best-selling book, Trends 2000, right? One of my books. I talked about New Millennium Warfare. They brought me down to Virginia Military Institute in 2000. I said, the weapons that are being made now, they're useless. It's going to be New Millennium Warfare. It's going to be a whole different kind of warfare. And that's where we're at. There were no drones back then. There were no AI world that were being created now, cyber attacks. It was all brand new. It'll be the end of life on Earth. Again, they're not politicians, they're gangsters. They're murderers and thieves. By their deeds you shall know them.
Well, there's some people that think that they believe nuclear war is survivable.
Oh, good. Good for them. It'll be happy days. It'll come out after nuclear war. It'll be heaven on earth. If there's a nuclear war, I hope I'm under the damn thing when it hits. I was talking to you before we went on the air how everything changed after the COVID war. It's a whole different world. Life now up here in Kingston, New York, like I said, they call it the Hudson Valley. I call it Death Valley. 9 o'clock at night, everything's dead. Businesses gone out of business, didn't come back. 9 o'clock, you used to stop serving at 10 o'clock at night, now 9 o'clock at night. I talked about the office vacancy rate, office occupancy rate. Oh, the office vacancy rate, 20% of the top 10 cities in America. What was it before COVID? Oh, around 11%. Everything changed. A nuclear war, I'm going to build a tunnel so I could live. I wouldn't want to come out after a nuclear war. Oh, not my language. Guy by the name of John F. Kennedy. Speech to graduating students, American University, 1963. He said, if we go to war against the Soviet Union, and it's an atomic war, life on Earth will be destroyed in 24 hours and for generations. That was 1963. All right?
Well, there's a whole new types of technology that are entering into the fray at this point, and it's really difficult to say what the potential outcome could be, but nobody wants to see that. But we got to prepare for the worst as usual. I just have one final question for you, Gerald. What is the one data point that the first thing that you gravitate to in the mornings? I know you don't use a smartphone, but what is the biggest indicator for you that informs your overall, economic forecast of the world?
Again, it's not one thing. It's making connections between different fields. And, again, we subscribe to tons of different sources. And it's just reading all the different stuff to find out where it's going and trying to make the connections between different fields. And again, as I say, one of my other sayings is the older you get, the more you have to do to stay in shape. And I work out more now than I ever have. I don't know if you noticed, I had my own school. I used to teach close combat for many years. The first thing you learn that I learned, and you can look up the guy, Bradley Steiner. He was the top close combat guy in America. He used to write for my magazine, the Trends Journal. And my teacher, may he rest in peace, both of them may he rest in peace, John Perkins was his student. The first thing we were taught in close combat, the only time your ego gets into place is when your life is on the line. Got it? And you got egotists that are running the show. Again, Eisenhower's quote, any man seeking the office of president is either an egomaniac or crazy. He was the president of Columbia University. They pushed him into running. Number two, you only attack the attacker. You don't go kill people because you think they're going to kill you. But that's not the way anymore. Again, look what they're killing these people in boats in the Caribbean. They didn't attack anybody. They didn't do anything. You only attack the attacker. But that's not the way of life anymore. And again, you go back to Washington. Exactly what he said as well. The only time you get into war is if you're attacked.
Yeah, we're definitely taking a more counter value approach to warfare nowadays, as opposed to a counterforce, which is targeting the actual people who you're fighting, as opposed to civilians. And that could be something to do with the asymmetrical nature of modern warfare, but it's also just the fact that we're run by, sadistic sociopaths who appear to, not have any regard for the sanctity of human life.
Look what they've done to the Palestinian people in front of everybody's eyes, bombing the place into total ruins. Oh, I forgot. Trump's going to turn it into the Middle East Riviera. I forgot. Look at how these people are being slaughtered. The latest data, over 100,000 of them were killed. Almost 200,000 seriously wounded. Who gives a damn? Nobody. From the big governments. They could care less.
Well, I think the one, silver lining with all of it is that it did bring out some of the biggest protests that the world had ever seen as a result of that. And I can say that there is a marked difference in what the public sentiment is towards the Gaza situation now than it was back in 2008. So in the very least, it seems as though people are starting to have a more informed perspective. Whether that amounts to anything, who knows?
Well, but stop right there. You're 100% right. What the people think, but the people don't count. Yeah. The politicians are in charge. I'll tell you what to do.
Man, I thought I was the Captain Cynicism, but you've definitely taken the cake today.
Again, I got a picture of me when I put on a brunch with Ronald Reagan. I've been with the president, the clown boy major. I did a talk when I was USA Today back in the day. I've been with the Prince of Norway. I've been presidents, prime ministers, and princes. I've been on the other side. I wouldn't know what I know if I wasn't on the other side. So I was the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate. And I know what the other side looks like. And that's why I feel the way I do. And again, that's the other thing. You call these guys out man to man. They don't know what a piece of shit. They're ballless little boys.
Well, I think the advice that you gave us to focus on your health, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, really is the best thing a person can do. And as
Yeah.
preppers, I always say if you want to be a better prepper is a better human being, because you
Yep.
are practicing holistic health. You're taking responsibility. You're not pointing the finger. You're trying to absorb all perspectives, be a polymath when it comes to the acquisition of information and knowledge, and really just try to do your best to be an upstanding member of your community.
it.
That's all you really can do. Not get sucked into the bullshit left versus right divide,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just stay focused on being pragmatic in all aspects of life. I think that's the best we can do at this point.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct. I agree with you. And again, as I say, united we stand, divided we die. And it does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. We could change it like that. It could change. And that's why I do what I do and try to do the best that I can do. And like you do, I mean, what you do is phenomenal. And again, being prepared is so important.
Yeah, we preach
As I
preparedness
say,
because
as I say, prepare for the worst. If the worst doesn't happen and you're prepared, you lose nothing. If you're not prepared and the worst happens, you lose everything.
yeah, I find what's often missing in these conversations is guidance, like real actionable advice for people on what to do, because we know the situation is probably not going to get better. And I hear a lot of rage bait. I hear a lot of people, complaining about how bad things are, but very seldom do they go to the extent of saying, well, this is what you should probably be doing to prepare your family. So, I was listening to you, I was listening to Alex long before I was ever a prepper, like back in the day, back in the early 2000s, I was in with all of that. And I realized at one point that I'm not going to change the world. We're not going to effectuate any really substantial change unless we come together as a collective, like you're saying. But I'm likely going to have to deal with the reality that awaits. And so what can I do? I just try to promote a lifestyle which is, like you say, holistically healthy, getting people squared away. And in doing that, hopefully that actually does have some change and slows down, the progression towards this inevitable catastrophe that we're hurtling towards.
Absolutely. No, it could definitely change when you look at the people, how disgusted they are with the establishment parties. And again, as I say to everybody, don't call yourself a Republican, a Democrat, left, right. Yeah, you just be open-minded. Don't put your mind in a little circle.
I think it's asking too much, honestly. I'm to the point where I think it's asking too much of the average person, because they're just never going to get it.
Oh, no, you're right.
There's just,
when I was a kid, one of the first things I learned when my father's driving the car, I'm about 14 years old. I start repeating what I hear on television. He turns around. He said to me, Papagallo, parrot, stop repeating what everybody else is saying and think for yourself. He said that to me a couple of dozen times, and I realized that anytime I say something, I better have the facts to back it up. And then when I started learning stuff, I say, Pop, how come people don't see this? Why? He says, son, take it easy. People have little minds. And again, 90% of the people swallowed the crap coming out of little Georgie Bush's mouth. We're going to get that guy Osama bin Laden dead or alive. All right? So you're 100% right. But again, it's not the majority. It's the irate, tireless minority. And that's what we have to unite, because we could change it like that.
I would encourage people to go and check out the Trends Journal. I'm amazed that you don't have a smartphone because of how current the information is in that Trends Journal. You're clearly tapping into, real-time news feeds somewhere. So it's very
I do
current,
on a computer.
It's very up to date, and it's very comprehensive. So I would encourage people to check it out.
Thank you. Again, we do it I go to the computer. I'm on the computer, but not a phone. I won't carry. Again, I did work for the cellular telecommunications industry going back to the 1990s, when they had boxes in the backs of trunks and aerials on the back of the hood of the car, on the back. I've been studying the radio frequency radiation of this stuff since then. Not mine, but University of California, Berkeley. If you're on a cell phone for 17 minutes a day for 10 years, your chances of getting a brain tumor only increase by 60%. 5G towers, all of this stuff is deadly crap. That's why I don't carry one. And again, I got to tell you, back in 2000, none of my friends were going to get a cell phone. I'm not going to slave to that thing. How come you got one? My car breaks down. Hey, where do you go? Car breaks down. You've been all right. And now you look at all the data coming out about how screwed up young kids are in this stuff. Obesity rates going up, mental disease going up. Again, I say in the King James Bible, they say the meek shall inherit the earth. I said they misspelt it. The geeks have inherited the earth.
Well, that's one final piece of advice. Try to digital detox, everybody. Gerald, I want to thank you for coming out today and sharing your insights. Guys, go check out the Trends Journal. Great compendium of news and analysis and forecasting. Thanks a lot for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do. I really appreciate being on.
The best way to support this channel is to support yourself by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com, where you'll find high-quality survival gear at the best prices, no junk, and no gimmicks. Use discount code PREPPINGGEAR for 10% off. Don't forget, the strong survive, but the prepared thrive. Stay safe.